Hi, I'm Shauna, this is Shauna's World. Welcome back to my channel where I make videos about living intentionally. So something I always wanted to do and have been dreaming of for many years is come to a fitness resort and spend time training like an athlete. And I'm here at Kombat Group, which is a boxing, Muay Thai and martial arts gym in Pattaya, Thailand. And I just wanted to show you around, show you a bit of what it's like. And then at the end, I'll do a little review of my time staying here. I'm here for 5 weeks total, and people come for all different lengths of time. Some people I've spoken to have come only for a few days, and other people come on and off for over a year. So it's, yeah, you can make of it what you will. So it's a really nice gym, and they offer boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Krav Maga. And then there's also gym facilities you can use in your own time. There's also a weight loss program that a lot of people come here for, and that's a really kind of targeted program, and they might take part in all different sports. And there's also 2 fitness classes a day lots of people do, and you can track your weight throughout, whether you're on the weight loss program or if you've just come for fitness. You can do, there's body composition scales that you can use throughout. So I'll show you around the resort and the gym and some of the things you'll see here. So let me show you around the gym. This is where all the training happens, and people train in between sessions, and then there's the organised sessions twice a day, plus fitness sessions. There's fitness in the morning, in the afternoon, followed by either boxing or Muay Thai. And then there's also BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Krav Maga going on. So there's this big floor area here, which is where the boxing always happens, and lots of fantastic equipment. I absolutely love this thing. Really good for practicing dodging your punches. And then over here, there's a smaller ring where sparring happens for practicing. I only dabbled a little bit in sparring, and not properly with mouth guards on, just gentle sparring before I got injured, so I didn't really get my teeth stuck into that. But I've seen people at it going absolutely wild. And it's yeah, really great kind of learning space because it's smaller. And we have speed bags over here, so during every boxing session we start with warm-up, stretching, and then there is time for shadow boxing with weights and then without weights, skipping, and then we usually move into rotations, kind of doing a circuit around the gym, partly doing pad work with a coach and then also using different bits of equipment. And then here we have heavy bags, which we always do some training on during the circuits. It's actually one of my least favourite things, but really good for fitness and for practice and for practicing those combos. So yeah, really important thing, and there are lots of those here. And then this one is a wall bag, and we use this every day in circuits as well during the rotations, and it's really good for the punches, but also for practicing your uppercuts, because on the bag you can't really do that. Practicing different combinations, and yeah, it's just the way it's set up is really good for hooks and uppercuts as well as jabs, which are kind of easier on the bags. This is where the Muay Thai lot train. To be honest, I don't know anything about their training. I've never done Muay Thai, but they look pretty badass when they're training. And then there are also several full-size rings here. And then the gym is decorated with lots of motivational quotes and posters for fights that have happened. And then over here there's a cage that's used for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Krav Maga, which people train in every day, and then it's also sometimes used as a space that people just work out in between sessions because it's got a padded floor, which is nice. There's also loads of gym equipment here that you can just come and use and train in your own time. I think a lot of it's used in the fitness sessions that happen every day that everyone joins, but I've been using it while I've been injured for rehab to do weights and the things I can do, kettlebells. So really good. There's TRX, there's a squat rack, and it looks like they're building a whole other little weights area as well that can be more targeted for that kind of stuff. And then there's also a cardio area as well. There's some really nice peaceful gardens, and yeah, they grow quite a lot of stuff here, and we drink a lot of fresh coconuts because they're good for electrolytes or trainings, and they grow coconuts here, and also jackfruit, which some people were pulling apart the other day, and yeah, I have eaten a lot of jackfruit in my time, but generally out of a can and not from a tree. So yeah, very nice that it grows here. Here's one of my gecko friends, love them. And there's a fantastic swimming pool which has the luxury accommodation situated around it, and it's a joy coming here for a dip after training. It isn't the biggest pool, but sizable enough to do a proper swim workout, or just splash around and have fun. Afternoons found a lot of people relaxing by the pool in a lounge chair with a book. Okay, I just wanted to show you the accommodation, and it's really good because I've just been upgraded to a nicer accommodation a few nights before I finish here, so I'll get to show you 2 different rooms. So for most of my stay, I've been in the most budget option, which is the fighters part of the camp, and it's very slightly off the site and just literally outside the gate of the camp, and yeah, lots of people stay there. And these rooms are big and nice and spacious, but they have no aircon and no hot shower. But to be honest, that's been absolutely fine for me. There's a fan, haven't even needed to use it that much. And the cold shower is fine, it's not freezing, and because it's so warm out, it doesn't really bother me. The showers are kind of walk-in wet room, and it's really nice. So not having the hot shower hasn't bothered me, and it's been a very pleasant shower. And you've also got some wardrobe space. So yeah, it's been pretty good, but I'll show you the new room as well. So this is the new room, which is the mid-range accommodation. There is a fancier one that has all kinds of accoutrements, but this one is kind of mid-range and it's got aircon and a hot shower, and I'll show you inside. So it's a bit of a smaller room than the one in the fighters camp, but it's a bit more luxury, feels a bit more bougie. You've got the little terrace outside, and then obviously the hot water and the air conditioning make it more comfortable. Got a little painting on the wall, and the bathroom is a bit bigger, and the shower looks a bit more spacious and comfortable. It's like a proper kind of built-in shower rather than a wet room. It's like a designated spot, but yeah, really nice, and it's in the camp, so closer to the gym and to everything else, so yeah, feel good about that. And I'm very grateful to Kombat Group for upgrading me, because last few days might as well have a bit of luxury. I guess the restaurant is the hub of the camp. We come here 3 meals a day. You get food included in your price, but what I've done for my last few days is not included dinner, because I was trying to save money, and it's really good. I think I'm going to hopefully do a separate video on budget and how much things cost here. But your meals are included, and then you just pay extra for coffees and fresh coconuts and smoothies and juices and all the fancy stuff. There is actually an urn where you can just make free coffee and tea, but the machine coffee is so much better. Everyone's so friendly here, and they will adapt to your needs, so they cater for vegetarians, vegans, gluten-free, whatever your needs. Also, lots of people come here on a weight loss plan, so often they'll have lower carb meals. They have like salad instead of rice with their lunch, and then you can also order things like protein bars and snacks at an extra cost. So yeah, it's a great little space. They're so friendly. They know what everyone has, and everything gets brought especially for you. Staff are absolutely incredible. The chef Anne is amazing, and she makes the best meals, and it's just really lovely, and everyone in the kitchen is such good vibes. I mean, I really enjoyed all the healthy, nutritious food at Kombat Group. At breakfast, there's a menu to choose from with a wide selection. Lunches were usually Thai food, things like tofu and veg and rice for the meat-free option. And at dinner time, we were cooked usually the tofu or an omelette for vegetarians, or meat for the meat eaters. And then there's a buffet full of vegetables, potatoes and salads to accompany. Oh, and dinner always came with a soup and a fruit plate. I also enjoyed a lot of protein shakes after my training. So I mentioned the body composition scale. If that's a subject that you don't like to hear about, I know it's not for everyone, please feel free to jump ahead a little way. So the scale was called InBody 360 and was a super detailed kind of body measurement, not only giving you measures like fat, muscle and water ratio, but also how they're distributed across your body. So you can see if, for example, you carry more muscle on one side, and then you can work to even it out. I took the scan every 2 or so weeks, and over my time there I gained a fair bit of muscle and lost 3 kilograms of fat despite getting injured and only being able to train really hard for 3 of the 5 weeks I was there. At the end of your time at Kombat Group, you'll be presented with a certificate by your coaches to celebrate all the work you've put in, and it feels like a lovely way to round up a wonderful but pretty intense training camp. So it's been a good little while since I was at Kombat Group, and I just wanted to share some reflections, what the best bits were, the not so good bits were for me, and just, kind of an overall review of the pros and cons. So, firstly, I would just say overall it was fantastic, and I would hands down go there again. I'm actually, after months of sabbatical and flying around a lot, which I don't really like to do because of the carbon output, I really want to cut down or cut out as much as possible of my flying, or only fly very occasionally. And actually, I really thought this boxing camp would be a one-off, but I would be devastated if I never went back there again. It was a lifestyle that I really, really loved. I just completely immersed myself in it. And it's that whole thing of you're in this place with like-minded people, just eat, sleep, train, repeat. And it made me feel like a proper athlete, even though I'm a total beginner boxer. It's just putting that much energy into your health, into your training, into your well-being, everything to support getting fitter and healthier. I just loved that lifestyle. It felt so good for me. So that was, the main thing I loved about it. But Kombat Group as a whole, there are a lot more pros than cons. So one of the things I loved about Kombat was it has a real family feel about it. And it's a gym that has a lot of heart. It's got a really interesting and also devastating backstory in that it was founded by a guy called Christian, an Italian guy, and he was a fighter, and he very sadly years ago died in the ring, or he got knocked out in the ring and then died shortly afterwards. But he had trained up his protege, Joel, who is a boxing trainer there now, and Joel actually fought the guy who killed Christian and won and kind of avenged him. There's a YouTube video on it. You will sob your eyes out. I'll link it in the description. But just the story behind everything, and like Christian's memory really lives on in the resort, and it really feels like I don't know him, I don't know much about him, but you can tell how loved he was and how dedicated he was to his sport and to creating this incredible inclusive environment where people could train in these martial arts. And just that for me kind of set it apart from what I imagine a lot of other touristy gyms are like. It just felt very like there was a lot of heart in it, and very family run. I mean, not everybody's related, but lots of people within the gym are related to each other, or friends or connections, or it's very integrated, and people in all different departments and stuff. So I just think that's a really nice thing. But the standout thing overall, the number one pro for me, was the coaches and the training. So the coaches in boxing were Joel, who I mentioned before, and a guy called Andrea, who is Italian, and they were just really fantastic trainers, and I felt so supported and just really enjoyed the training process. And I also really like the way they structure the training compared to other boxing gyms I've dabbled in the past. Like, it was mainly set up with circuits, so you're doing different things, where often I found boxing classes, they just send everyone off into pairs and you're holding pads for each other and doing pad work, but not really getting that much help on improving your technique, or not getting that much other stuff. And if you're new to it, actually it's quite hard to do the holding the pads properly. And I mean, I guess it's all part of the learning, but I just have found myself in boxing classes I've done back home just feeling really either out of my depth, or just bored, or not really like I'm learning or progressing. Whereas this, it was small groups at the time, although I guess that varies depending on how many people are staying, but I just learned so much, progressed so quickly, and had a lot of one-on-one support within the group sessions, but I also booked some one-to-one sessions. And I just thought the coaching and the way they support people is phenomenal. And I also was really impressed that the training sessions, the group sessions, were really accessible both for beginners and experienced fighters, and it was just adapted based on who they were, and it just felt like it was really well managed and held, so everyone was supported and no one was kind of getting bored or like, yeah, it just worked really well. The gym and the facilities were obviously a fantastic pro. I've gone into all that in the video. And then another big thing, I guess, aside from the coaches, all of the staff were just really lovely. The people who cleaned the spaces, the people who did the maintenance, the people who cooked the food, the management, just everybody was lovely. And at one point when I was there, they redid the floor in the gym, and the maintenance team were just kind of working obscenely throughout the weekend to get it done, and they don't get a whole lot of recognition, but everyone was just smiling and constantly friendly, and it was just an honor to be around such energy, and you could tell everyone who worked there really believed in Kombat Group and were proud to be working for the company. So that was just a nice environment to be in. And then another big pro for me was the affordability. So I looked into quite a lot of fitness camps, boxing gyms, Muay Thai gyms, like when I was deciding what I was going to do. And this was both one of the most affordable. There were other more affordable, say Muay Thai gyms, for example, but that didn't have live-in facilities, so you would have had to rent accommodation elsewhere, and I'm sure it would have worked out cheaper. But then you don't have that kind of all-inclusive, connected resort feel where everyone's kind of in there doing the same thing. It's a bit more spread out, and you don't have that same kind of group feel. And then there are other kind of fitness retreats that some were boxing, some were other sports and fitness, which I did, consider and look into. But a lot of them were kind of more luxurious, and then you're paying thousands and thousands of pounds because you're getting like the really luxury accommodation. And for me, I'd just rather have budget accommodation and cheaper options and then focus on the training. And I also loved, I think I want to make a whole video about the cost and stuff, because I think people might find that interesting if they're looking for Kombat Group. But I like that there were different packages that you could pay for, different price ranges, say for the accommodation, but you could kind of add and subtract different things. So things you could do your drinks pay as you go, or buy an all-inclusive package. You could kind of get the cheaper package, but then opt into swimming pool use, which isn't included in the initial one. So I really liked the way it was structured, so you could just have as much or as little as you wanted of different things and tailor it to what your needs are and what you find it worth investing in, compared to what you're like, oh, I could go without that. So the cons, I don't even want to share anything negative about this resort because it was an incredible camp. I got so much out of it, but there were definitely things that I found challenging and that I didn't love so much. And I don't really think it's anything to do with Kombat Group, but it was just an experience I had that I wanted to share because I think it's important. It was fine for me, but it's important to know what might come up. So obviously, when you're in a group situation and you're going into like a travel tour or a retreat or a training camp, you have no idea what the other people are going to be like. And that's true in all walks of life. And, one of the beautiful things about life is meeting people who think differently from you. But I actually found a lot of challenging attitudes, and I met some incredible people, really, really deep and beautiful connections. But I also encountered a fair bit of misogyny, homophobia, racism, anti-sex work rhetoric that was passed off as banter. And there was such a kind of normalizing of saying really offensive things and then going, oh, it's just banter. And it's really frustrating. I don't want to be political correctness gone mad. I think it's fine to joke, but just be a bit respectful. And I'm kind of used to being around people who would never denigrate an entire demographic just for a laugh. And I had comments from people saying, oh, you shouldn't be in the gym, you should be making me a sandwich. Or there was a lot of people kind of being disparaging about sex workers. There's like quite a lot of sex tourism in Pattaya, which is nearby, and people were speaking about the workers in a really derogatory way. They were using with each other things like, oh, you're so gay, or you're a lady boy, as an insult, as if like it was just very different to the way I would speak to anyone, and it did, you know, I'm kind of like, yeah, everyone is entitled to be an asshole if they want, but it did exhaust me after a while, and I did find myself sometimes detaching from the group, and then connecting better one-on-one with people who weren't like so much into all the lad banter. But that was a really challenging thing for me, and that might have just been the group that happened to be there at the time, or certain individuals that were there when I was there, and I'm sure it's not always like that, and it was just a hard thing for me to deal with. And I think it would be irresponsible of me not to share that, because I don't know if I just got unlucky or if that is a bit of a culture there, or maybe in boxing or martial arts that's a bit more of a culture. But I think some people could like find that incredibly upsetting or triggering to be in that kind of environment where they didn't feel respected. I did overhear a conversation where people were completely slating asexuals and just being like, oh, what's that? And like, it's not even a real thing. And I just like being really derogatory about it, and I want like I like, they obviously didn't expect an asexual to be sitting in the corner, and I was like, what are asexuals doing to offend people so much? But yeah, I won't keep ranting about that, but yeah, I found that frustrating. And then another con, which is more also a personal preference, but some people might find hard, which I think I wanted to share, is that if you are in a difficult place with kind of issues around food or diet culture, or kind of people speaking about weight loss in a certain way, as society does and as diet culture has led us to do, it could be quite triggering. So I was in quite a good place when I was there, and I didn't let it get to me. But there are other times in my life I might have gone and been like, whoa, this is all about the weight loss. And it is understandable, because there are a lot of people who go there on a weight loss program, and they're specifically there to lose weight, so they're obviously going to talk about that. It's completely within their rights. But I did feel that there was sometimes a bit of a culture of, no matter what, weight loss is the best thing, even if that's not your personal goal for being there. Yeah, and there was sometimes kind of a tone of fat shaming, or not even fat shaming, because like people were really supportive of people who were in bigger bodies and were there to lose weight, but kind of, yeah, I guess like I found people kept asking me what my weight loss goals were, and I wasn't really there for that. And they did body composition, which I found really interesting, but it was just kind of, yeah, that wasn't why I was there. And I was just kind of interested in the health metrics. And I did feel a little bit like, for the people who were on the weight loss program, it was always considered the less food the better, when actually if you're in a bigger body, you have to make sure you're eating enough to fuel your training. And you know, I'm not a nutritionist, but I have read a fair bit about it, and I just kind of felt like there was a bit of a culture of like, eat as little as possible, like don't eat carbs. It just didn't feel that kind of sustainable or mentally healthy for people to be getting in that mindset. That is my opinion, and I know a lot of people love that and would benefit from that, and it's not an issue, but I just think it's kind of could be a bit dangerous for some people. So if that kind of stuff is in any way triggering for you, or I mean, there's definitely ways of opting out of it and kind of being like, oh, I don't want to do body composition, or just, you know, opting out of conversations where people are kind of celebrating weight loss when it doesn't need to be celebrated. But I just, I think it's important to be aware that there does feel like sometimes a bit of a diet culture celebration. Yeah, I feel like I kind of went on about the cons more than I'd like, because overall it was an absolutely wonderful camp. I would go back in a heartbeat. I wish they would open one in Europe so I could take the train there and not need to fly. That would be my dream. But I just think it's important to give heads up for the things that I found more challenging, because I know I wouldn't be the only one who might struggle a bit with those things. But for me, despite those things, it was overall a success, a wonderful time. Even though I got injured there, I couldn't have asked for a better time. And even after getting injured, I had a hip injury, and I was just spending my time using the gym to focus on my rehab and stretching and like strength and conditioning. And what better place to be to focus on recovery. It was a truly magical 5 weeks when I was there, and I would recommend it to anyone A lot of the people I met on the camp had been on other fitness retreats in Thailand, or some had been in other Muay Thai gyms or done other kind of sport stuff, and they all said Kombat was the best and kind of the most value for money. So yes, I would recommend. Anyway, on that note, I will leave that there with a big celebration of Kombat Group and everything I gained from training there. Hopefully I'll go back one day. It was an experience I'd been dreaming about, planning for, putting my energy into hoping it would happen since the first lockdown, when I just started obsessing on the internet over different fitness retreats and things. So yeah, so glad I did it. If you have any questions about Kombat Group or about training in boxing when you're not that experienced, please leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see my upcoming videos from Vietnam and pretty much anything else coming up on living intentionally, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you. I've loved making this video, and have a lovely day. Bye.